Hey guys, so welcome to our 33 and 34 week update. As you can see, we've changed locations again. We are back at our house. We were at my mom's house last week or whatever, and honestly that was a really great place to film, but we are back at our house right now and we are packing, so the house is just a mess, basically. So please forgive any sort of mess that you might see behind me. There's just random stuff behind me, and I don't know. I mean, it looks even worse behind you guys, so just be happy I'm not facing the camera that way, because I'm sitting here looking and it's like, oh, there are a lot of boxes and piles of things, and oh my gosh, you know. Anyway, I am 34 weeks and 2 days. So it is Friday. My weeks turn over on a Wednesday, and I had mentioned this in our daily vlogs a little bit, but I hadn't mentioned it here yet. And I think what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start doing the update for the week that I'm in right now, just because, well, for a lot of reasons, but mainly because I don't know how many more weeks I'm going to be able to film back. So like normally I would be filming my 33 week update while I'm in week 34. Well, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to be in the week after and still be pregnant and be filming for the week before. So for right now, I think it'll just make more sense to film for the week that I'm in, which means that this week is going to be an update of week 33 and then week 34. Next week will be week 35, so that'll be the week that I'm in. Anyway, my hair is still wet. I just put my son down and I rushed downstairs to go do this update, so I have makeup on. Does that work? I've just been so not looking forward to getting ready. Showering is hard and it just wears you out, so I don't always wash my hair. I don't always, you know, whatever, but I did today for you guys, so yay. Okay, let's go back to week 33. In week 33, I had been really busy. I have been doing all of those exercises, and I'll put, I have 2 clips of some exercises that I had been doing to flip baby because baby was still breech. And so I went online, I Googled, and I went to spinningbabies.org, I think is what the website is. I'll link it down below, and then just like a couple of forums and stuff to kind of see what other people's suggestions were for how to flip a baby, because the last thing I wanted to do was feel like I wasn't doing anything and then be disappointed when I had to have a C-section. You know, you just always want to feel like you're at least attempting to do something, even if it doesn't work. So week 33 was, I was gung-ho, I had some energy, you know, I was packing. And then I was like doing these weird acrobatic things that are very hard to do when you're pregnant. You don't realize it, but you know, they're hard to do. Attempt 1. All right, so I read somewhere where if you sit on a yoga ball or like an exercise ball, it helps with your posture, which is a good thing. And then if you put something cold on top of your stomach, like where their head is, they turn around because they don't like the cold on their heads. I mean, it makes sense, sort of, unless it doesn't and I just look like an idiot, but it can't hurt anything, right? So we'll see. Okay, so option number 2, laying like this on the chair, feet up on the couch, pillows, blankets, just laying here for 15 minutes. Come on, baby. And so I did a lot of that. So by the end of week 33, I was pretty much dead to the world. I was having a really hard time walking. Everything was just real sore. And I didn't really understand it because I felt like a lot of the exercises that I had been doing, a lot of them I hadn't filmed because I was by myself, but they were yoga poses or sitting on a ball, like a yoga ball, or, you know, just doing stuff to stretch out your joints and ligaments and whatever. And I never really thought about what kind of an impact that would have on my body, but by the end of the week, I was just gone. Like, Taylor had 2 days off in a row, and I spent them both in bed. Like, I was just done. And that started to affect the packing. So of course, you know, I'm home all day, so I'm the one who's doing primarily, you know, the majority of the packing. And so that was getting to be an issue. I was feeling guilty because I couldn't do a whole lot with Alec, our son. You know, I couldn't go out and about and do whatever. So I kind of backed off. This week I have backed off a ton. I've hardly been doing anything. I am going to start doing the stretches, just kind of like the rocking poses, like where you're on your hands and your knees and you just kind of rock back and forth. And then the ones where I'm sitting on the yoga ball, I think I'm just going to keep doing that. And you just kind of, there's one where you do like 10 rotations of your hips in one direction and 10 rotations in the other direction. And those are just to kind of open things up a little bit more so there's more room. It's not necessarily a forcing of the baby to turn like the others. So I'm going to just keep doing that a couple times a day just because that did feel good and it was nice to get some blood flowing, so you know, that's fine. But so by like I said, my weeks turn over on Wednesday. Monday late night, like midnight into Tuesday morning, like 1 o'clock in the morning-ish, that's usually when I go to bed. I was just wasn't feeling right, you know. I didn't feel like everything was in line. Like I didn't feel good. It's not like I felt sick, I just didn't feel, something just didn't feel right. So I went to bed and I laid there for a little while and I just started to get these cramps that were just kind of like, they almost were like gas pains, you know. And then pretty soon they were really, really strong, and they were like really strong and going around to my back and into the front, and they'd start real low and then they'd get real high and then they'd go around, and my stomach was getting real tight, so I knew it was a contraction. But I just thought, you know, at first I thought, oh, they're just Braxton Hicks, it's no big deal. I mean, Braxton Hicks can become painful if they're strong enough. And I'd been having those for weeks now, so I didn't think anything of it. Well, when I woke up, I guess I never really went to sleep, but when Tyler woke up to go to work and to get Alec together and stuff at around 7, I couldn't even move. It was just, they were so strong and so bad. And, but then they'd go away and it would be fine. So like, it wasn't a consistent, there weren't a consistent amount of them. It wasn't like every 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. And, you know, I would get one and then it would go away, and then 10 seconds later I'd get another one, and then like 15 minutes later I'd get another one. And so we called the doctor. I was supposed to have a doctor's appointment on Thursday, and this was Tuesday, and we called the doctor and said, you know, explained what was going on. And she was like, this is the worst possible day for you to be having these problems because our doctor has had 3 emergency surgeries. She's not in the office. The other doctor in the practice is taking over her patients, but we're having to turn people away. She was like, but if it gets worse, call me back in 2 hours and we'll fit you in. She was like, but you know, it's kind of tricky because when I go into the doctor every week, I have to be scheduled for an ultrasound, which is a 30-minute appointment, and then I have to be scheduled for the doctor to come in and talk to me. They do a non-stress test on the baby every week, and then they do a transvaginal as well as a external ultrasound every week. So that makes it a little bit tricky. It's not like I can just kind of walk in and see a doctor. I have to, you know, they have to kind of plan it out. So she suggested, she was like, just drink a ton of water and, you know, just see how it goes. So I was drinking like bottle after bottle after bottle of water. I have this huge, like this big, I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but it's like this big green plastic container or glass container for water. And I was drinking like 5 of those plus little bottles of water, you know, and then I would have mixed up with like juice or something, you know, so I was still drinking fluids, but I just had to get something else in my system. And they still weren't going away, and it was just exhausting. It was like I would be fine, and then I would try to go down the stairs and they would all start back up again. And when I would get them, I would get really, really hot and then cold chills. And so it was like, okay, I need to figure out what's going on with this. So we called the nurse back after about 2 or 3 hours and kind of explained what was going on, and she was like, yeah, she said, it's gotten worse since you guys called. She was like, we've had more people come in labor, and so the doctor's really not going to be back today. She was like, so she said, the best I can do is schedule an appointment for you for tomorrow rather than for Thursday, so on Wednesday rather than Thursday. So we did that for 3 o'clock. So I went in, and of course, when I woke up on Wednesday, my whatever I was feeling was starting to go away. I mean, I was still getting them occasionally, but it wasn't as bad. So we went into the doctor, and they did the ultrasound. Everything looked good. He's still breech. So I don't know. He's either going to flip or he's not. But I'm less worried about that now, and I'm more worried about let's just keep him in. Let's just make sure he doesn't want to come out early. So they did all that. Everything looked fine. They did the non-stress test, and the doctor came in, and she was like, you know, you have a lot of irritation, like uterine irritation. So when they do a non-stress test, they have two, that's when they do the 2 straps, the one blue and the one pink. And one of them monitors the baby's heartbeat, one of them and movement, and one of them monitors contractions, like uterine contractions. So when it prints out on that long piece of paper, one of the lines, I think it's the one on the bottom, is the heart rate and the movement. And so it just, of course, is going to be like the little guys that move. And then the one on the top generally stays pretty flat. But that's where they see, you know, if you have a contraction, it looks like a mountain, you know. And mine was doing this, like a bunch of little squiggles, you know. So she comes in and she was like, yeah, so you're having some irritation. She said, it's not a full-blown contraction yet, but they're caused by contractions. It just means that something's going on that we need to be aware of, you know, and it may not be that you are going into labor, she said. She was like, but we need to keep an eye on it. And I told her about the day before what they felt like, and she was like, yeah, those are contractions. She said, if you have 6 or more of those in an hour, you need to go either into the doctor's office or to the hospital. She was like, I don't care if we're busy, I don't care, whatever, you need to come in and get looked at. So, and then I mentioned the hot and cold flashes and whatever, and she said those are probably just hot flashes. And that's just your body's way of dealing with the pain of the contraction. Your body just kind of freaks out basically, and then it calms down. And so when you get real, real hot and real cold and real uptight and whatever, and then it starts to come down as soon as the contraction goes away. So she wasn't as worried about that. She said that I do need to continue to take my temperature. If it starts to go up at all, just to let her know, because they just want to look for infection or, you know, make sure nothing weird's going on in that department. So the lovely, wonderful thing about this doctor, though, is that she has not put me on any medication yet, and I am so grateful. When I was pregnant with Alec, the moment I started to have contractions, and they weren't even this bad, they were just kind of like, the contractions with Alec were like these started out as at the beginning of my pregnancy, which caused me to talk to my doctor about them, just kind of the tightening and the discomfort and whatever. The moment I talked to him about those, I was put on medication. And then I was in the hospital, out of the hospital, in the hospital, out of the hospital. Like, it was just, it was a mess. I was really happy that that was our first baby, because we had the freedom to go to the doctor when we needed to, or to the hospital when we needed to. I don't think we would be able to do that with Alec, just because, I mean, sometimes it would happen at 2 o'clock in the morning and we'd have to go in. So, I mean, it worked out really well the way it did work out, but I'm really happy with our doctor. This time she's just really kind of, she's a lot more hands-on with how we're dealing with things, you know, suggestions for how to stop certain things or deal with certain things, but it's not all about, here's a prescription for this really crazy medication that you have to be on until you deliver. So I'm really happy about that. I think that things have been going a lot better with the baby. My mental state has been a lot better, which is scary because I would hate to see what it would be like otherwise. And so anyway, all good. So last night was Thursday night, and we decided to go to Target. And after walking around Target, I started to have contractions again. And I had 3 really, really good ones. and then they kind of started to taper off. So I'm thinking I just need to take it super duper easy, like easier than I was taking it, which is a little impossible, but I don't know. The doctor did say that at 35 weeks, the prognosis for the baby, if he was born then, is a lot better than if he was born earlier. And it is kind of common sense. The farther along he is and the closer to his due date, the better he would do if he was born. She said, she was like, you know, I'm not going to induce you at 35 weeks, but if it happens and you start to have contractions, we will probably try less extensive measures to stop the contractions than if you were, say, you know, 32 weeks and that started happening. So she did mention that 39 weeks is kind of her limit, and I don't get from what she was saying, I don't feel like she thinks he's going to make it to that point. I feel like he's going to try to make an appearance before then. So that all to say that last night we were like, well, we need to get stuff for our hospital bag because we haven't really packed that, and we really need to because Alec was born at 37 weeks and that is 3 weeks away. So we just need to get everything together, figure all that stuff out while we're packing our house and while we're figuring things out with Tyler's job and while we're doing all this stuff. So none of the timing has been all that great. We haven't announced anything on our channel yet. We haven't really, because we don't really know anything yet. We just don't know what's going on, but there is a chance that Tyler will not be here for when the baby is born. He is hoping, hopefully we'll get a letter or an email or whatever with a job offer, and it's within the same company that he works for right now. It's just a different position, but this position does require that he go somewhere for training for a week, and it's in another state, so he will not be in the state for about a week. And the two dates that were given were September 25th or 26th or October 4th, and the baby is due October 7th. So it is a very frustrating, aggravating time. It is something where we know that everything is going to be really great and good at the end of it, but right now it's hard to see the forest for the trees. And so it's just rather difficult, and he's dealing with work and figuring all that stuff out, and I'm dealing with packing up the house. We don't know when he's leaving, so we don't know when I'm going to be going to my mom's house, because we live about 30 minutes away from my mom, and she's offered to have us stay with her, which is just so generous. But it means that we have to pack up our whole house, and so so I'm dealing with that. And then I'm also kind of thinking about, you know, he's not going to be here maybe, and I may have to have a C-section, which I really don't want. And I don't mean it like, it's not in my birth plan, I don't want it. It's like, I'm an incredibly anxious person. I have a lot of anxiety, and a lot of it has to do with surgeries. I've had a lot of surgeries, like more than any human being should have. Now, I am not chronically ill. I don't have any, like, that's not my point. I know people who have had surgeries every year of their lives since they've been born, and I don't know how they do that. I mean, that is just unbelievable to me. They are the strongest people I've ever known. That having been said, surgery of any kind is hard, and I would kind of prefer not to have any more surgeries. I would really prefer not to have the recovery of a C-section while my husband's not around, and I have a 3-year-old and a newborn. And my mom works, so she can't really take a ton of time off. So it's just kind of stressful. It's stressful, to say the least. But I'm trying to adopt a very zen view of all of this, and hopefully that will help. Or I'll just be driven nuts, and then, you know, I can't go on forever. So, okay, enough babbling about that. Time to go into the fun stuff. They've gotten a new scale at the doctor, and I don't know if I've mentioned this in last week's vlog or video. I never watch my updates before I film, which I should do, because I don't ever remember if I'm repeating myself. But they got a new scale, and it's terrible, you guys. I mean, I have a scale at home that I have been weighing myself on before I got pregnant, like months before I got pregnant, we got it. And then, you know, all throughout. And it has stayed the same. It was the same at the doctor, it was the same whatever, same. Well then, I go in a couple weeks ago and they're like, well, the scale broke. And so we got a new one. And the scale puts on like 4 pounds. It is terrible. Terrible, you guys. So I'm choosing to stick with the scale that we have at our house because I've used that for longer. And it's not broken. I know it's not broken. Does that make sense? Am I just delusional and pretending like I'm lighter than I am? I know I have gained weight. I feel it. I definitely do feel like I have gained weight. I feel it in my face, especially in my face. I am getting this lovely little like double chin thing. My lips have gotten huge. My nose has gotten big. And that happened with Alec too. Everything just got puffy and big. My fingers, like my hands are swollen basically all the time. My wrists are swollen. My ankles and my feet are really super swollen. My legs are bigger. Just everything is just bigger, you guys. I just feel like a walking Michelin tire man. And my clothing is just tight, and I'm just ready for that not to be that way. We bought a robe for our hospital bag, and it's all I can do not to just live in that. That's just all I want to live in right now is that robe, because it's big and it's comfortable and it's lightweight and it's perfect. So after this update, I may go put that robe on because it's all I want to wear. So anyway, according to the scale at our house, I have gained about 2 pounds in the past week and a half. So that's not so bad. I think now I've probably reached a weight gain total of like 17-ish pounds, 17, 18 pounds. So that's not bad. And I only have 6 weeks left, so that's pretty good. As far as aversions and cravings go, I am still anti anything mushy. Although I had oatmeal the other day, and that was good. I think it's a temperature thing too. If it's hot and mushy, like a soup or an oatmeal or something like that, I can handle it. That's no big deal. But if it's like room temperature and mushy, no thank you. I have been craving, I've had a lot more cravings for sweet stuff lately, but only at night. It seems like I'm starving in the morning when I wake up, and then after breakfast I can kind of just eat normally and regularly, and I'm fine. Like, I don't feel like I need a snack. I don't feel like I need to eat immediately. So I'll have lunch, and then dinner time rolls around and I'll be fine until I eat dinner, and then the moment I eat dinner I have to snack until I go to bed. It's like, it's just, I just don't understand it. So we've gotten oranges and grapes and apples, and I'm trying to think of what else we have in our house. It's like cereal and stuff like that, like whole grain cereal. So that's been really nice. That way I'm not like, I want ice cream at night, or I want, you know, candy or whatever. Usually I'll have an apple and I will be fine. So that's been really helpful. It's nice to find those loopholes because I could go through an entire thing of candy and have absolutely no problem. Also though, we did get Halloween Oreos, so those are in our house. They won't be for long. Another big craving that I've been having is milk. So I will drink a whole glass of milk in a day and be totally happy. Usually that's around my sweet craving, so that's really nice. So, you know, can't go wrong with milk. But so that's basically been how it's been. I'm still having contractions. I've had a couple today, but they're not as consistent. They're not, you know, there aren't multiple ones in an hour. I feel a lot of joint issues. Like, I have a lot of like pelvic girdle pain, and I talked to the doctor about that the other week too. I know I'd mentioned that in the video where it just felt like everything was grinding and clicking, and she said that that's totally normal. She said basically everything is just loosening up because of the relaxin that your body is producing, or my body's producing, to get ready to have the baby. it just does what the name sounds like. It relaxes everything, and so it makes it really difficult for your joints to hold the weight of the baby, for one thing, and then also to do what you want it to do. It's just, you know, it's going to click and pop and rub and whatever. So that's kind of how I felt, like clicking and rubbing and whatever. So I don't know, I'm excited about that not happening anymore, but it hasn't been as bad. So I think that's all I have for you guys this time. My next appointment is next Wednesday, so I will probably be doing an update either that day or Thursday, depending on how things go. So I'm going to go ahead and end with a belly shot. Sorry this was so long. I had a lot of things to kind of talk to you guys about, and I didn't realize it until I started filming, so I'm sorry this has taken so long, but hopefully next week I will have more of a short and sweet version. So I hope you guys are having a good day. Thanks so much for watching, you guys.